Frugal people seem to always be one step ahead in both finances and happiness. And while many frugal people do things differently, there are many things that all of them avoid doing at all costs. Which is why in today's video, we're going to be showing you 21 habits that frugal people don't have to keep them rich, healthy, and happy. Number 21, they don't spend their entire paycheck when they get it. Frugal people don't take their employment for granted. The risk of being fired or let go from a job is a very real one, and not having any reserve cash to survive for at least a few months so as to find a new job can really threaten your well-being. For example, just imagine for a moment if your car brakes needed to be changed after losing your job. Could you afford to pay it with cash, or would you have to try and get a loan that would give you even more payments? By saving money from every paycheck, you can end up creating a safety net that will let you be rest assured that you can overcome any unexpected emergency that comes your way. Number 20, they take care of their health. Health expenses can be some of the costliest ways that anybody can experience, which is why being preventative of health problems instead of getting a cure can save a ton of money. Taking the time to see a doctor annually to address any potential problems, having nutritionally balanced diets, and regular exercise are all things that frugal people do so as to make sure that they minimize their health expenses, all while feeling great. Number 19, they're not concerned with buying brand names. Frugal people aren't concerned with brand name items and are happy to settle with generic brands. It's very easy for expenses to pile up whenever you're constantly trying to buy top-tier items, and often frugal people realize that. Instead, frugal people like to focus on what items are for. For example, a frugal person doesn't think much about how expensive the clothes they're wearing are. In fact, they just care about having clothes to wear. It is all too common for the quality of an off-brand item to be the same texture or have the same use case as the brand name, but just at half the price. The attitude allows frugal people to save money and still have great quality items. Number 18, they don't upgrade their technology as often. It's all too easy to want the newest MacBook or the latest Samsung phone, but do you really need to replace your current one? Frugal people will only upgrade their tech if it's absolutely necessary to do so. This means only if their phone no longer works or if the laptop is completely broken. This allows frugal people to save their finances for much more important things like retirement, and making the most out of technology that they already have is something that fits perfectly well within their lifestyle. As the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Number 17, they're not afraid to sell items they no longer need. Why keep an item that you'll never use if you can make some money from selling it? Many people will end up throwing away a perfectly good item or even just keep it while it collects dust. However, a frugal person won't waste the opportunity to sell a perfectly good item that they've never even used in order to make some extra cash. Not only does this allow frugal people to keep their homes neat and tidy, but it also makes the most out of items that still possess value. Number 16, they take advantage of free offers. Have you ever been offered some excess goodies from a neighbor, or maybe you knew somebody that was giving away a perfectly good couch? A regular person will typically look over these things, but a frugal person won't. For them, the excess food from a neighbor can be used as tonight's dinner, so that way they don't have to go out and pay for it. Or the couch can be either used in their own home or sold for somebody else online. Taking advantage of free offers allows frugal people to save money in a lot of places, and that really adds up. Number 15, they have no problem in buying used cars. The luxury of a new car can seem too good to pass up for some folks. However, the expenses that a new car can bring is monumental. For example, you have to pay the lease on the car, gas, and any other expenses, like mechanical ones from oil changes to brake pad changes and so forth. Plus, not to mention that the car depreciates or loses value over time once it's driven away from the car lot, which is why frugal people tend to buy used cars. A used car can more often than not be bought entirely with cash, which saves having to pay the monthly payments or lease. On top of that, a used car can often perform just as good as a new one. Number 14, they're always building an emergency fund. One of the most overlooked mistakes that a person can make is not building an emergency fund. Emergencies happen all the time, and usually in moments whenever we want them to happen the least. Frugal people realize this and make sure they're always prepared. For example, you never know when your car may suddenly need to be repaired. An emergency fund will allow you to finance to repairs with cash to avoid a loan, which would rack in even more expenses. By consistently preparing an emergency fund, a frugal person lives every single day without fears of what tomorrow may bring. Number 13, they avoid having credit card debts and balances. A credit card balance is one of the sneakiest money suckers out there, and many people fall victim to it. Having to pay high interest rates can end up taking chunks out of every paycheck that you have. Not to mention, failures in payments can drop your credit score, which can make it harder to buy certain things like a house. Frugal people understand that a credit card is not money you actually have and avoid using it unless really necessary. Instead, frugal people will only spend money from their debit accounts because it's money that they actually have in their possession, and that's living within their means. It's not money that they'll have to pay back with interest on top of it. Number 12, they always make sure to invest in themselves. For many people, a typical evening after work could mean binge watching your favorite Netflix series. But for frugal people, an evening after work is an opportunity to grow and learn new things so as to secure a healthy and happy future. More often than not, frugal people are typically found trying to spend time perfecting skills that they've either obtained or attempt to learn new skills by reading books or watching YouTube videos. For example, a frugal person might want to learn to be handier so that way they can save money by fixing things around the house. Even though it takes a lot of work, in the long run, it can save loads of cash by knowing how to do certain fixes by yourself. Number 11, they always make sure to pay themselves. Frugal people will always make sure to pay themselves. Now, some of you might be wondering, how can you pay yourself if you only have the money you get work from? That answer, my friend, is through investments. A frugal person will always save a portion of the paychecks and pay themselves by putting money into a high-interest savings account, stocks, or even bonds, so that this way, their money works for them by making more money, or in other words, their money pays them. Number 10, they don't throw away items that can be salvaged. It's all too easy to throw away an item that no longer seems functional, but very often it just needs a quick fix, which can end up being just as good as new. Frugal people make sure to take advantage of this. For example, let's say there's a tear or hole in your jeans. Instead of throwing them out, you could learn how to sew that hole, which would end up saving you from buying a new pair of jeans, and that means saving money. While this may require more work on your part, it still gives you the satisfaction of being self-sufficient and keeping items that you truly enjoy for around as long as possible. Number 9, they always shop with a list. How many times have you gone to the grocery store without a list and ended up buying way more than you intended? Grocery stores can be money pits due to the fact that many of the sales that they have going on display, and if you're not focused on what you actually need, you'll end up with items that you'll actually never use. Frugal people will always go to a store with a list, so that way they don't get sidetracked by the tempting sales and only focus on what they need. This way, they're always spending within their limits and making sure that every cent that they spend is only for things that are necessary. Number 8, they take advantage of sales. Sales are a great way to save some extra money on items that you need, and frugal people make sure to take advantage of them whenever they present themselves. For example, let's say you want to buy a new pair of sneakers, but it's outside of your monthly budget. However, you know that there's a big holiday sale around the corner, so you decide to wait. Whenever the sale comes, the price drops by 25% or more, which means that now you can buy those pair of sneakers for a much better price. There's a reason why the saying goes, good things come to those who wait. Number 7, they always have multiple streams of income. The majority of people only have one income they depend upon, and this is usually the income they get from their job. However, frugal people know that there's plenty of ways to make extra cash. A frugal person will make use of other avenues for income, like a side hustle or affiliate marketing, which is using your social media presence to advertise products. This way, they can further protect themselves from financial emergencies and allow them to build their financial future more safely. Number 6, they only buy products with money they have. Are you guilty of buying something without having the money to buy it? Many people will impulsively buy something that they want, regardless of the consequences. Even though this may provide instant gratification, it won't provide a healthy financial future. Frugal people make sure to only spend what they have, and if they want to buy something they can't afford within their monthly budget, they'll make sure to save up enough money before buying it. Number 5, they don't waste food. The amount of food waste that a single household generates can be extreme. Unfortunately, a lot of food that gets thrown away could have still been eaten by people who were more organized or less lazy. Frugal people realize that the cost of wasted food adds up quickly, so they make sure to waste as little food as possible. For example, a frugal person may keep a list of items that they have on hand at the time that they bought. That way, they can make sure that they use all of the foods that they have on hand before buying any more to prevent waste. Number 4, they'll use coupons whenever they have them. Every now and again, coupons will be placed in your mailbox, and while some will throw them in the trash, a frugal person will take those and use them to be able to lower the cost of their purchases. However, frugal people don't just simply buy an item because it's on sale, but will only get if it's something they actually use frequently. So that way, they're lowering their purchases without changing what they typically buy. Number 3, they always eat at home. One of the most overlooked expenses that many households have is the amount of money that they spend on taking out. Frugal people will take the time to make all their meals at home, that includes coffee, because it monumentally is cheaper to make your own food than it is to keep buying through various food delivery apps. A meal that you might pay $15 for at a restaurant can often be created at home for less than $5. Number 2, they reduce energy costs. Do you got a leaky faucet? Maybe somebody that likes to take hot showers? Well, these are things that can make your energy bill higher than it needs to be. A frugal person will not hesitate to shorten the lengths of showers or get a leaky faucet fixed to help reduce the amount they spend on their energy bills. Even though a little extra water may not seem like a huge deal in the short term, it adds up very quickly in the long run. Lastly, number 1, they take advantage of the library. Many people are avid readers and are quick to buy a book on Amazon within one click. However, the amount spent on books can pile up extremely quickly. Instead, frugal people will take advantage of the library whenever there's more books than anyone can read, and you can have access to them entirely free.